Gentlemen, the enemy is here. We advance at dawn. This is the decisive thrust. Execute the plan.
By the summer of 1941, Adolf Hitler believed he had already won the war. France was defeated. Western Europe lay under German occupation. Britain remained defiant but isolated. To Hitler, Britain was no longer the real enemy. The real enemy lay to the east, the Soviet Union. For years, Hitler had spoken of this war as destiny, not as strategy, not as necessity, but as inevitability. He believed Germany's future depended on land, food, oil, and destruction of what he called Bolshevism. This was not simply military ambition, it was ideology turned into policy. And so, while diplomats still spoke of peace treaties and non-aggression pacts, Germany prepared for the largest invasion in human history. An invasion so vast it would stretch from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. An invasion involving more than 3 million soldiers, thousands of tanks, and the full weight of the Luftwaffe. Its name was Operation Barbarossa, and it would transform World War II from a European conflict into a war of annihilation. Operation Barbarossa was not conceived as a normal military campaign. It was not designed to capture territory and negotiate peace. It was designed to destroy a civilization. Hitler believed the Soviet Union was rotten at its core, that its people would collapse under pressure, that its army would disintegrate without leadership. He believed the war would last weeks, at most a few months. German generals warned him otherwise. The distances were vast, the roads primitive, the climate unforgiving. But Hitler dismissed them. He did not fear logistics, he feared time. Because Germany's economy was not built for a long war. Its fuel reserves were limited, its manpower finite. Barbarossa had to succeed quickly, or not at all. And so planning reflected this obsession with speed. Encirclement, annihilation, relentless advance. No pauses, no consolidation. The infantry would march, the tanks would spearhead, and the Luftwaffe would clear the skies. The war in the East would be fought as a campaign of movement, and Germany was very good at that, at least at first. At dawn on June 22, 1941, the silence along the Soviet border shattered. Artillery opened fire, aircraft roared overhead, bridges were seized, communication lines cut. From the perspective of the soldiers involved, it felt like the world was ending. Infantry columns advanced through forests and fields that seemed endless. Villages burned behind them, civilians fled or vanished. The Luftwaffe struck Soviet airfields with devastating effect. Thousands of Soviet aircraft were destroyed on the ground in the opening days. Entire Soviet armies were encircled, at Minsk, at Smolensk, at Kiev. Hundreds of thousands of Soviet soldiers were captured. To German commanders, this looked like confirmation. The Soviet system was collapsing. But appearances were deceiving. What Germany did not understand was that the Soviet Union did not fight wars like Germany. It absorbed them. The Red Army bled and reformed. Factories dismantled and moved east, men conscripted in numbers that defied comprehension. Germany was winning battles, but it was awakening a war it could not finish. For the infantrymen, Barbarossa was not about maps or ideology. It was about hunger, dust, exhaustion. German soldiers marched for days without rest. Supply trucks lagged behind. Boots wore through. Rations thinned. The Soviet soldiers suffered worse. Encircled units starved. Prisoners died in open fields. Entire divisions disappeared. This was warfare without mercy. Orders from the top sanctioned brutality. Political officers were executed. Civilians were treated as enemies. Villages were erased. What began as a military campaign became a war of extermination. And extermination breeds resistance. Partisans emerged, supply lines were attacked, rear areas became dangerous. The farther Germany advanced, the less secure it became. The system was stretching, and systems under strain eventually fail. In the opening phase, the Luftwaffe performed brilliantly. Air superiority was achieved rapidly. Soviet aircraft were destroyed faster than they could be replaced. At first, German pilots flew multiple sorties per day. Bombers struck rail hubs and troop concentrations. Stukas terrorized advancing columns. But the Luftwaffe was designed for short campaigns. Its aircraft required constant maintenance. Its supply system depended on captured airfields. Its pilots were irreplaceable. As the front moved east, distances increased. Fuel shortages emerged. Spare parts lagged behind. Aircraft were grounded not by enemy fire, but by wear. And when winter approached, the Luftwaffe had no answer. Engines froze, lubricants failed, airfields vanished under snow. The air force that once dominated Europe became a shrinking force stretched across impossible distances. Orders from Berlin demanded miracles. Miracles did not arrive. As the campaign slowed, Hitler intervened directly. Generals argued for strategic withdrawals, for consolidating gains, for focusing on Moscow. Hitler refused. He believed retreat was weakness, that willpower could overcome reality. Orders were issued. No withdrawals, no flexibility. Hold ground at all costs. Entire armies were ordered to stand and die. This was not military strategy. It was ideology overriding war. The German command system, once adaptive and efficient, became rigid. Decision-making slowed, initiative vanished, fear replaced judgment. Germany was no longer fighting the Soviet Union. It was fighting physics, climate, distance, and losing. Winter came early. Temperatures plunged below freezing, weapons jammed, vehicles stalled. Soviet counteroffensives struck exhausted German units. Fresh troops appeared, seemingly from nowhere. In reality, they came from Siberia, from reserves Germany never believed existed. Moscow held, the myth of German invincibility shattered. For the first time, Germany had failed to achieve its objective. And failure in the East had consequences everywhere. Resources drained, aircraft diverted, men lost permanently. Barbarossa did not end in defeat that year, but it became unwinnable. The war had changed character. Speed no longer mattered. Endurance did. Operation Barbarossa did not end World War II. It ensured it could not end quickly. From this moment forward, Germany would fight defensively, even while advancing. The war spread outward, to North Africa, to the Atlantic, to the skies over Germany, to Stalingrad. The conflict became global, industrial, and merciless. Barbarossa revealed the truth modern war would never escape, that ideology is not strategy, that speed cannot replace sustainability, that systems matter more than brilliance. Germany fought with unmatched aggression, but it misunderstood the war it had started, and once that misunderstanding was exposed, defeat became inevitable. Next time, we follow the human cost of that decision. The pilots, the infantry, the men who paid for strategy with their lives. Because after Barbarossa, survival was no longer about victory. It was about endurance. And the world would bleed for 4 more years to learn that lesson.